What's going on? This is Boxing Wave. I'm going to speak on Carlos Molina versus vicious Victor Ortiz. They're going to be fighting 154 pounds on the December 14th undercard of Adrian Broner versus Marcos Maidana. And me personally, I'm not really excited for this fight for two reasons. Victor Ortiz haven't fought in like 16, 18 months or so. He's coming off of a loss against Josecito Lopez and Floyd Mayweather Jr. And both of the losses were controversial. Uh, the loss to Josecito Lopez was because he suffered from a broken jaw in the later rounds of the fight. And the Floyd Mayweather loss was from a knockout, which it was during a break between the ref was breaking them both up, and he was not ready for it because he didn't have his hands up. He went to give Floyd Mayweather a dap, and Floyd knocked him out. But I'm going to speak on that later. Second reason was Carlos Molina. He's coming off of an unimpressive win against Ishe Smith. It was actually the most boring fight, one of the most boring fights that I was actually looking forward to on the undercard of the Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez fight. Plus, Carlos Molina is really not the most exciting fighter to watch. So I do think he has skills, but I'm just not really excited for this fight. So I'm going to go and speak on Victor Ortiz a little bit first. Victor Ortiz is a very aggressive, quick fighter. He has power. Um, and he was a prospect at one time. The thing about this guy is he doesn't really have the heart. He had a very exciting fight against Marcos Maidana about 3-4 years ago. I don't think he was undefeated, but I think he was Marcos Maidana. Him and Marcos Maidana were pretty close as far as the record is concerned. They both power punchers, but it was a brawl. It was a great fight. It was a very exciting fight. Both of them were knocking each other down left and right in the fight. And I feel like Ortiz was winning up until the point where maybe up until the round before he actually quit this fight. Yes, he quit the fight. He was winning. He actually knocked Maidana down 4 times, okay? So he was in control of the fight. And then once Maidana started putting the pressure on him and landed, I think he was landing a right hand, some hard right hands to Victor Ortiz's face. Victor Ortiz just pretty much quit. He didn't get knocked out or anything. He just quit. Didn't want to fight anymore right in the middle of the round. So a lot of people questioned his toughness after this fight, his heart after this fight. He did, come back. He won. He had like a winning spree going on. And he beat Andre Berto, which was like the 2010, 2000. I believe this is 2011 fight of the year. It was actually Berto's first loss, but it was a great fight. Um, and then he got his big shot against Floyd. Thing about the Floyd Mayweather fight is Victor Ortiz was frustrated really early in the fight. Floyd was doing his thing, his typical thing, staying on the outside, and doing what Floyd do. We already know how Floyd fights. Victor Ortiz got frustrated and tried to headbutt Floyd a few times. A lot of people don't know when they see the fight, they see the headbutts right before the fight ended. A lot of people don't know Victor Ortiz was trying to headbutt him throughout the fight. He was actually trying to leap and headbutt him whenever he got close to Floyd. And when Floyd was in a corner, one of the corners, Victor Ortiz was attacking him, just going, crazy, just trying to land some strong shots. And then while in the middle of throwing punches at Floyd, he did like some frog leap headbutt E Honda type thing, and it headbutted Floyd. And the ref caught it and broke them up, and Floyd was complaining. And then as soon as the ref broke them up for them to fight again, Floyd just knocked them out. Victor Ortiz was trying to hug him and do all this extra stuff. Floyd knocked him out. Me personally, a lot of people felt like it was a cheap shot for Floyd. But listen, this is a guy that has been cheating the whole fight. I mean, You could go either way with that fight. I think Floyd probably did what I would have did. I would have punched him right in his face too. Who cares if he's ready or not? Why are you gonna fight fair with a guy like that? But I'm not gonna talk about that fight too much. All right. So that's what happened. I lost a lot of respect for Ortiz because he already quit against Maidana, and then he showed signs of frustration, and me just jumping and leaping for a headbutt just is another sign of quitting to me in my eyes. So right after that, he fought Josecito Lopez. Uh, I expected Victor Ortiz to dominate Josecito Lopez. It was actually a very close fight. He was winning the earlier rounds where he's a bigger guy and a stronger guy, and he was leading the fight Canelo Alvarez. And out of nowhere, Josecito kind of turned the fight around, just added pressure to Victor Ortiz. And then out of nowhere, Victor Ortiz says his jaw was broke. I mean, he was boxing a little bit for like a round and a half with his mouth open. I don't know if his jaw was really broken, but you never know with this guy. I mean, personally, I really don't believe him like that. I don't believe him, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If his jaw was really broken, then, why keep fighting? But we already had, issues with you with this before, so it's hard to believe anything this guy says. So after that, we haven't heard anything from Victor Ortiz. He was on Dancing with the Stars, and it's like, how serious does this kid take boxing? Okay? Let's talk about Carlos Molina. First thing I want to say about Carlos Molina is don't get it twisted, okay, with this guy. He has, you look at his record and you look at his losses, and then you look, he has a couple of draws. He got like 5, 6 losses. I'm not really too sure. And then, he doesn't have any knockouts. He only has like 6 knockouts out of his 20-something wins. All right. One thing is a fact. He does not have punching power, okay? That's the reason why he doesn't have any KOs. But do not get discouraged by his losses, okay? He has a very impressive resume, okay? He's fought a lot of big names, a lot of talented boxers, and a lot of those fights that he lost, it was very controversial or they were very close. And a lot of people feel that he got robbed. I think at least 3 or 4 of those fights he got robbed, okay? His most notable... his last fight was against Ishe Smith. A lot of people don't even know who Carlos Molina was. I was talking to a couple of my boys on Twitter yesterday about this. When I told them I thought Carlos Molina might win this fight against Victor Ortiz, they said, Carlos Molina is trash. Did you see the fight with Ishe Smith? That fight, you really can't count that fight, okay? Because it was a bad fight, but their styles, Ishe Smith is not really the most aggressive fighter, and neither is Carlos Molina. I mean, he is a very active fighter, but he doesn't have any knockout power, so it was a really ugly, boring fight. And Carlos Molina clinches a lot. He fights very good off the clinch, and he holds and clinches a lot. A lot of people don't like him because a lot of people think he's a dirty fighter. He's actually, I see a lot of people online compare him in the forums, compare him to Bernard Hopkins. Because Bernard Hopkins fight the same way. He try to frustrate his opponents. So with that being said, check out the fight with Carlos Molina versus James Kirkland. James Kirkland is a knockout artist, 154. Only thing is his conditioning is really bad. I think Carlos Molina was destroying him. But he got disqualified because someone jumped in the ring on his corner when he knocked James Kirkland down. So it's like, when he got knocked down. So he was winning the majority of the fight and probably was going to go off with to win that fight. Another fight that Carlos Molina was in was against Erislandy Lara. I think it was on ESPN. Erislandy Lara is one of my favorite fighters. I think he is my favorite fighter at 154, other than Floyd Mayweather, of course. But he's very talented, and at the time, Lara is still a prospect, and I think he was still undefeated at the time, and he beat I mean, they made it a draw, but I think Molina beat him. You know, he beat him and he frustrated him, and Lara just never got into any kind of rhythm that fight because Molina kept holding him and fighting off the clinch, and he's a good inside fighter, even though he doesn't have power. Lara is, you know, I think he's okay inside fighter, but he's way better in the mid range outside, and he really didn't get any kind of momentum going in that fight. And Molina pretty much controlled the pace of the fight, and I think he won. But they gave it a draw. Check out the fights against Chavez Jr. He had 2 fights against Chavez Jr. Same thing. Like, I think the first one was a draw. Second one, they gave it to Chavez. Both of them are very tough fights to call. So go check these fights out. Molina has skills. Now, speaking of who I think is going to win, I don't know where Victor Ortiz stands at this point in his career. He doesn't seem to take the sport seriously. I think even when the fight with Floyd, I think he got caught up in the spotlight. I think he was just glad to be there. You can just tell in his face. He was like a big kid. Whenever he was in interviews, just doesn't seem like, you know, the press conference. He just seemed like that he was just happy to be there. You know, I don't know where his focus is at with this sport. You know, I really don't trust his focus. I think he's way more talented and has a lot more potential than Carlos Molina. I think, but only the problem is, I think Victor Ortiz, his hype is based all on potential. I think he has skills, but his potential to be great is all there. It's just that his heart is not there. You know, he's quitting, you know, and he just makes bad decisions. And I really can't give him, you know, he hasn't fought in a while. He might come in out of shape this fight. I don't really know. So with that being said, I'm gonna give it to Carlos Molina. I think Carlos Molina is gonna win this fight because I think he's gonna frustrate him. He's gonna hold. Being that Victor Ortiz is very aggressive, very fast, and very powerful, I think Carlos Molina, you know, Victor Ortiz is a very athletic fighter, and Carlos Molina isn't. Okay, but Carlos Molina is active. He's very active in the ring, and he fights off the clinch very well. And he's not going to hurt Ortiz, but I think he's going to frustrate him by holding him and fighting off the clinch. And I think Carlos Molina is going to win by decision. So that's my pick for the fight. I could be wrong here. I'm not going to even be mad if I'm wrong for this fight, but that's the way I think the fight is going to go. All right, so please leave comments. Let me know what you think. Follow me on Twitter, @wavy_10. Also subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my boy's channel, USA MVP. Okay, he makes great prediction videos, and just stay tuned for more videos coming out. I have a lot of videos coming up, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.